I'm absolutely ecstatic because I'm here in Belfast in the New Forge Sports Complex. And behind me is CJ Fulton, a Belfast born and raised basketball player who is just coming off having played several games in the NBA Summer League with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I have to put this in perspective. He's the first player born and raised on this island to play in an NBA game. The level that he is performing at is just so high that it's unfathomable, especially for me as a basketball player. We're going to spend some time talking about the concept of being ready, which I think is perfect for basketball because we know as players there are times, so they're less for you mostly in your career, when you're sitting on bench and then being asked to jump on and you have to be ready at a kind of moment's notice. You know, tell me a little bit about why that theme is important to you.
I think, if you're ready for any opportunity, then you're able to take advantage of it rather than kind of panicking if you skip steps in the process and then your name does get called or something happens and you're not quite ready for it, you're not going to be able to perform at the level you want. So just staying ready, being locked in, that's only going to help you.
CJ Fulton, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here on the 3 Points podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It was so fun because we got to play a little bit. I say play very loosely. We got to shoot around a little bit, but you've just come back from a scrimmage. You're just home to Belfast. How was it playing at home?
It was great, yeah. And I got back last week, so it's great to be back playing with all the lads I grew up playing with. So it was fun to get back in the gym with them.
Yeah. So when you come back and you meet your mates here, especially on court, I'm curious, are they looking at you with admiration and saying, wow, CJ, you've just come off the back of playing in the NBA Summer League with the Minnesota Timberwolves? Or are they doing the Belfast thing of giving you a hard time and winding you up?
More so the Belfast thing of giving you a hard time and keeping me grounded now. Yeah. No, I mean, you'd have to ask them. I think they like the idea of me coming back and they get to kind of challenge me and go up against me. But I think for the most part, I'm just slapped back in like any other practice and just having the crack and going at each other.
Yeah. It's so interesting because, again, for those that don't know CJ, I think to set the stage, if you're not a basketball player and you're not from Ireland, you've achieved something that no one else has ever achieved, which is being the first born and raised player on this island to play in an NBA game. That's got to feel pretty cool even to hear back.
Yeah, Summer League game, but no, yeah, it was cool.
I love that you said that. Let me clarify, Summer League game.
But no, it was a cool experience. Like, just didn't think it was a position I would ever get to be in. So, yeah, back now. Looking forward to seeing what's next and where I can go with it.
Yeah, and firstly, or the other thing I want to say, sorry about just walking into the gym and seeing you play with your old mates and whatever else. It definitely felt for me like there was a raised level of energy in terms of people were like, right, we're here to play. And I think when I watch you play, and I was chatting to your dad about this, who's a coach, Adrian Fulton, and he's played a big role in your life, both as a father, but in the basketball world, I'm sure, it's clear you're very competitive and you're ambitious in your craft. Is that how you would describe yourself as a basketball player and as a professional, like very ambitious?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just as a competitor, you want to win. Like our team didn't win as many games as I wanted to tonight, but that was good. Just being back in, whether it's like you said with my dad, whether it's playing against him, table tennis or whatever, come back here, playing with the lads in a match, I'm trying to win. So
yeah,
it's just always been in my nature.
One of the other things in terms of conversation we're going to have, right, was sort of setting the topic or setting around the theme of being ready. And, for me, it was so cool when you initially got signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think that there wasn't a player on this island who knew anything about basketball that didn't know CJ Fulton's name or that you'd signed with the T-Wolves, which was really cool. And it was so, for me, moving because it was such a positive news story in our sport because it's not been done before and everybody hears about it and it's absolutely phenomenal. First, tell me, was that weird? Did you see and feel the attention? Because it's a weird world. Social media, you're in Vegas or you're in the States, you were playing with Charleston, you're not really walking up the street and be like, oh, there's CJ Fulton. But certainly on the tech side, is your phone blowing up? Like, talk me through that experience.
Yeah, you could kind of see all the videos circulating on social media and new followers and new messages and stuff like that. So you try to, you don't want to ignore it and you want to show your gratitude to all the people that are supporting you, but at the same time, you're trying to just park that to the side and get on with the games and stuff. But yeah, I definitely noticed some more followers and some more likes and stuff after that
I
announcement.
bet you did. I
Yeah.
bet you did. So you get signed with the T-Wolves. You're on the Summer League roster.
Yeah.
I'm at home in Belfast.
Hmm.
Huge fan of CJ. I've known you since you were a young child. I don't know you that well, but I've been following your career. I'm excited. You're playing in the NBA Summer League, CJ, and I am at home checking the box score all the time.
Yeah.
Waiting to see your name and some statistics pop up or play-by-play. Game 1 goes, did not play, coach's decision. Game 2 goes, did not play. And that's for me when I went, gosh, I was really sitting there feeling for you. I was at home going, gosh, this must be quite difficult. You know, you've got all this support around the signing. And then it's about getting on the court, getting a chance to showcase your talent and your skill. Like, what's going through your mind in those early games when you're not getting a chance to get on the court?
I kind of knew that was going to be the case, to be honest, going in. So I wasn't too disheartened or like I knew I wasn't going to be rocking into summer league, playing 30 minutes a game and the ball in my hands all the time. So kind of knew what to expect. Knew that they were pretty happy with how I did in the training camp before going to the summer league. So it's just about waiting for my opportunity and then trying to make the most of it when it did come.
So Adrian, it must be so cool to see your son CJ back in Belfast after having been the first player born and raised on this island to be playing in an NBA game. So one of the things that we're talking to CJ about, or the primary thing we're going to talk about, is this concept of being ready. You make the trip over to Las Vegas. He's playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves in the NBA Summer League. You're there, you're itching for him to get on the court. I'm sure it's the same for him. When you're having conversations with him, game 1, game 2 goes by, he's not playing. You know, what's going through his mind? What's he sharing with you? I mean, is he able to maintain that kind of resilience, both emotionally in order to be able to prepare and sort of mentally, physically?
Yeah, I mean, it's more emotionally, and I'm trying to stay ready. The biggest thing for him was more from a basketball perspective, that he hadn't played a full game since March. You know, conference semi-finals against Wilmington was in March. And with the best will in the world and the best practice and individual workouts and 3-on-3, and there's nothing like playing 5-on-5. So not only did he come really in the 4th game, you know, other guys in Summer League had played and then played 3 games. So that from a basketball perspective, that was hard. And then you're in a position there where he's going, well, these guys are, you know, more experienced than me, or not necessarily older than him, but more experienced and more established, I think probably the best term. So it was hard, it was a challenge, but you're trying to say, listen, this is pro sport. You know, you're transitioning from college sport, even though it's a very professional setup. You know, going from that to transition to pro sport, it's tough. It's tough, but listen, a little nudge in the right direction. You know, I mean, he deserves an awful lot of credit. I mean, we're there, his family's there, support. It's more about encouragement.
Yeah.
And try to back yourself. I think that's the biggest thing for him, back himself. He's a wee bit, you know, he's kind of still figuring out, well, what am I doing here? There's a wee bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, so that's probably the biggest challenge for him.
CJ, we're going to talk about your 3 points all around being ready, which I think is perfect because in our sport, and we were joking about this earlier on the court, I'm used to riding the bench and maybe getting the call up, maybe not, right? But you've had a career where that hasn't been the case, right? You've been the starter. You've been a player gets a lot of minutes to have an impact on the game. And so this topic of being ready in terms of performance, can you tell me a little bit about why that is particularly important to you?
I think just in the position I'm in now going forward, like the last 2 months have kind of been a bit of a roller coaster, like just not expecting the draft workouts, then going back out to summer league. And I've been in a position now where I don't know really what's going to happen next. So just trying to stay in the present and be ready for whatever's next.
Oh, another perfect jumping off point. So we were laughing because
podcast of it.
we should do a podcast just on this. So your sister and I were chatting and I was sharing back your 3 points with her. I said, okay, CJ's 3 points. She's taking credit for this and I've butchered it several times in preparation, but let's try it. So your first point, CJ, is stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
There we go. Got it.
Finally. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you and if your sister should claim that she shared that wisdom with you.
She definitely did. And I don't know what she's talking about. I think she said she heard it the other day on some show she was watching. I heard it like 4 or 5 years ago for the first time. So, but we'll let her have that one. Yeah, I think the first time, it's a popular enough quote, but I think the first time I heard it was my first year playing college basketball. We had a coach, Fran O'Hanlon, who was kind of like an old school, older coach. Um, each practice, we would have a practice plan. He would have a quote of the day on it. So he would have us kind of lined up on the sideline, toes behind the line, hands behind our back. Like I said, he was pretty old school. So he was giving his whole pre-practice talk, and then he would call on one of us to memorize the quote of the day. But I remember that being one of them. I just exactly that, like just stay ready. So you don't have to get ready. If you're putting in the work behind the scenes and you're being consistent with your approach and your routine, then you can just when your name's called, you're ready to take advantage of the opportunity rather than just skipping steps. There we go. In the process, and then when your name does get called, you're kind of panicking, not knowing what to do. But whereas if you're staying locked in and you're ready to go, then there's a better chance of you going out and performing at a high level.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So like when we talk about that, it's interesting because I want to break down that into a couple of different smaller parts, right? There's the physical, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're looking after your body. I know we were just joking. Your sisters were also telling me, your body's a temple. You'll not be eating bad food. You're thinking about your physical preparation, right? And staying ready physically. How do you do that genuinely when you're on the bench for several games? You're not fresh physically. You maybe haven't played a whole lot of games. How do you make sure that you are ready to perform physically?
Yeah, summer league was a bit tougher just because, like, even the practices, we weren't really competing a whole lot with the other lads playing. So I was just like the whole time I was there, it was kind of just hotel gym stuff with the strength and conditioning coach. So I was in there every day. I'm a big routine guy. I like to have my routine each day. So I was in there every day pretty much. And then in the practices, I was trying to get a sweat up, get my shots up, and just start like preparing myself so I could get in the game and hopefully I wasn't too far removed from live action.
Yeah, the routine must be really important, and I suspect so. At this stage in your basketball career, albeit you're quite young, but you played a lot of basketball.
Yeah, certainly feel old.
Are you constantly sticking to the same routine when it comes to warming up, getting shots up, or are you adapting it, or like how does it work for you?
I'll probably have slight changes over my career. Like I feel like I'm doing a lot of mobility stuff with my sister at the minute. She's great at all that stuff with her gymnastics background. So I think I'll try and implement more of that as I get older and my body starts to break down even more.
How old are you?
Just turned 23.
Listen, when you reach the ripe old age of 25, and I'm not 25, but yeah, okay. But mobility is really important, right, in our game,
Yeah.
and you've got to stay lumber. So that's the physical side. So you're doing stuff for your sister. You've got your routine. Tell me now, and I've been desperate to dig into this with you because I can hear you sort of talking yourself through it like, I got to be ready. You had your expectations set, which I think is really good, by the way. And I just want to shout out to the leadership team in the T-Wolves who I assume are telling you, be ready, but, you might not play and
Yeah.
kind of setting your expectations. Regardless, tell me about the mental side then for you. So you don't play a couple of games, sort of waiting for your opportunity. How are you making sure you're doing what you're saying in your mind when you're sitting there and you're waiting for your moment? How do you stay engaged really to make sure that you are staying ready so you don't have to get ready?
Yeah, I think just that's like the mental side of the game is something I'm taking more seriously last couple of years and trying to get more into that. But I think just, visualizing yourself out there, like making sure during practices you are locked in on the plays, on the scouting, like even the games I knew I wasn't probably going to play, I was still watching film on the other guys outside of our own scouting meetings. So just, staying locked in, staying engaged, like whether it's on the sidelines or just by yourself, just preparing yourself mentally as much as physically.
Yeah, it's amazing, by the way, at this stage of your career to be doing something that no one's ever done, right? In terms of from this island and to be there and to be so present and focused and locked in. I think, that's something that I think all of us, regardless of our environment, right? And kind of whether you're in the workplace or in sports or arts, like being able to stay present. Cause I can only imagine that with all of the energy and the hype and just the marketing around the NBA as a product, right? And as an entertainment sport,
Yeah.
that it would be easy to kind of be overstimulated and kind of lose energy or lose focus. So I'm curious, did you have any moments like that where you were kind of a bit distracted and then kind of locked into, okay, this is what I'm here for and I need to stay ready?
I mean, out in Vegas itself, just being out there, it's like a different world. It's mental, like on the strip and just all the celebrities and like NBA stars walking through the hotels, just gambling beside you or gambling at the tables. I wasn't doing any gambling myself, but
I love that we're not going to name drop NBA
yeah,
players or
no,
gather
of
the
course not.
casino.
But just seeing that and like I was talking to my dad about that, trying not to go in too starstruck and being like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, like all these, like I'm just around all this, like it's so being in my head where there's a balance of respect for them, but not trying to get too caught up in what was going on.
And how do you think you were able to do that so well?
I don't know. I don't know if I did as good a job of that as I would have liked. I think the first like few practices and stuff were almost a bit overwhelming. Just walking in, like Anthony Edwards is just in the locker room beside you. It's like what's going on. But
I love that. You told me on the drive over here, you were like, hey, I'm CJ.
yeah, I'm Ed, and I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. But yeah, just trying to stay present, stay grounded throughout it all, and the players were welcoming, and the staff were all great. So yeah.
So good you've had such a great experience in their organization in the NBA. I think the way you describe it, it sounds like to me, which is really, again, positive, that they've created a great environment for you to be successful, right? Because it's in their best interest, of course, that you can come in there and play and perform at your best.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, I think, and as I got more playing time or more practices in with him, I got more comfortable and kind of built my own confidence as well. So, yeah, no, it was great.
I love that. So we've talked about staying ready so you don't have to get ready. Your second point, CJ, is around being adaptable. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means to you in this context of being ready?
Yeah, so I think obviously the goal is to be as prepared as you can. Like our head coach, my junior year at Charleston, Pat Kelsey, who, if you're interested or anyone listening is interested, he's like in terms of building a winning culture, him and his staff are as good as they come. But his whole thing in practice was, you want to make the practices harder than the game. So when the game does come, you're not rising to the occasion. You're just reverting back to your training, and his thing was relentless effort in practice means that we're tougher than any challenge or opponent we face. So, like I said, the goal is to be as prepared as possible, but no matter how well you prepare, you can't control everything that happens in a game or in a business meeting, whatever it is. So, the only thing you can control really is your response. So I think that's why being ready also means being adaptable. I got to be able to figure things out and adapt on the fly. Not panicking when things don't go according to plan. And just kind of trusting your instincts.
And how do you go about that, like trusting your instincts? What does that mean to you in your role, even as a point guard on the court?
I think it's just not overthinking it. Going out there knowing that helps. Like if you've put in the work, knowing you've done the reps, you've worked hard. I think also just with experience as well, just failing, learning from it, making mistakes, growing, like just practicing daily habits, whether it's like you're out and something happens to you in just everyday life, like your iPhone cracks or something happens, you're just how you're responding, and then just building those habits daily. I think that translates to the court as well.
Yeah, it's funny. We were chatting earlier about how I love to watch basketball players and then not really know them, and then get to meet them off the court and try and see how much of how many similarities there are to the style and the way they play, to how they approach the game, or sorry, approach life. What's their personality like? So, everything you just described there, CJ, feels like exactly how you play the game. Very adaptable and kind of reading the situation. I mean, would you say that's accurate when it comes to your style as a point guard, where you're reading the defense, you're not overreacting, you're not overthinking, you're able to kind of take it in stride?
Yeah, I think for the most part, like end game adjustments, I'm pretty good at. Just like you said, reading the defense, kind of what the flow of the game is like. And even throughout my career, like making the jump to Super League, then going over to the US to play at Winston, going to Lafayette for college, then transferring colleges. I've had 4 different head coaches for my 4 years in college, 4 different coaching staffs. So I've had to do a lot of adapting throughout my US experience. So like I said, just kind of learning from experience. And
Geez, you're well weathered.
yeah,
That's
well, yeah, yeah, definitely.
you've been around, but that is a real testament to your, to your character, to your adaptability. How much are these coaches influencing your style of play and who you are as a player versus you're quite confident in how you show up and what you bring to the table as a basketball player and as a teammate?
Yeah, I think every coach has like their style of play that they want to play and that they like. So it's adapting to that, but also knowing your strengths and not trying to be someone that you're not. Um, but like I've throughout my 5 years in the US, like each coach had different things that they wanted, and you learn different perspectives and different schemes, offensively, defensively. So I've definitely done a lot of learning my 5 years over there as well.
I love that. Well, we're actually on our third point now, and this will be really interesting because in the conversations we've had sort of off air, we've been talking about the importance of self-belief, which is your third point. And I said, your sister said, "Oh, that's CJ's third point." I said this to your family, and they were like, "Oh, this will be interesting." So tell us about the importance of self-belief and how that connects to being ready.
Yeah, I think just that's one of the most important parts of playing or performing is just belief in yourself and confidence in your own abilities. So yeah, I think my family and my sisters know that I'm very critical of myself, and that's one area for growth definitely for me going forward, especially reaching this level now when you're going up against all these like NBA stars and you're not really expecting to be in this position. Kind of having belief in yourself that you do belong there, and that's something honestly that I struggled with a bit at the start, just kind of imposter syndrome almost, like am I good enough to be here and contribute? And so that's something I'm working on at the minute, and especially going ready to get back over there. Trying to go in with the mindset that I can contribute and play with these guys and compete. So
How do you get out of that, CJ? At at this stage, you're in your early 20s, you're at a point in your career where it is crazy. You're talking to Ant Edwards here
yeah.
beside you in the locker room, and you're the first person to do what you're doing. But so how do you snap out of imposter syndrome and have that self-belief to say, I deserve to be here and I'm in the right place?
I'm still working on it. So if you've got any tips, let me know. But I think it's just, trusting the work you've put in. Even when I was getting like the videos that were on social media, but the positive feedback from the coaches and other players, like, like that kind of stuff helps. But it's just, I think it's more about believing in your own ability, believing in yourself, working on it through, mental fitness is something I'm working on, paying more attention to now as well.
Yeah, what does that look like for you?
So in the process now of kind of looking at more sports psychology stuff and different techniques I can use to kind of give myself more of an edge that way. I read an article last week, I think it was about Duncan Robinson, just talking about his kind of, he's been pretty open about talking about his like mental health and sports like performance and stuff in the NBA.
Yeah, he's another guy, right? That he's undrafted or drafted late.
Undrafted, yeah, he started Division 3, but has played significant minutes for the Heat and was a big part of their NBA Finals run. But he's also been on the bench, like had that kind of role as well for a few years. So he said just trying to get that balance of between am I good enough and knowing that you are capable, because like I know deep down that I am. So it's just trying to. He was kind of talking about having that razor's edge of not being satisfied with where you are, but also knowing that you're capable of going even further.
Yeah. It reminds me of a really impressive advertising campaign I saw many years ago by Nike, and I think it said something like one-on-one versus yourself counts. And I thought it's really interesting, right? Because it's probably easy for you to walk into see Ant Edwards or other NBA players and kind of compare yourself
Yeah,
versus what you just described, CJ, which is, have I got the ability and the desire, and have I got the work ethic, and have I put in the time to train to be ready for that? Is that kind of how you approach it? Is sort of grounding yourself and knowing that you've done the work?
Yeah, like it's like you said, it's kind of you versus you mentality where you're not comparing yourself. Knowing that you're there on merit and like the workout didn't just happen because you know just for the crack, like you know what I mean. Like they obviously saw something and yeah, just knowing that I deserve to be there.
Yeah. And when your sisters were and I were chatting about this, they were saying about the imposter syndrome and trying to, for you trying to work around that. Like, how much does family play a role in that, and friends, in terms of helping you get over that versus the professionals? Because you're having NBA players and coaches and staff say, "Hey, you're in the right place."
Yeah, yeah. No, it's their support's been great. I know if I need like a telling off, like stop feeling sorry for yourself or something like that, they'll be quick to give me that as well. So they're very good. And like you said, the Belfast thing of keeping you humble and keeping you grounded as well with your mates. So that's been good to have as well. So yeah,
Somebody told me a phrase. It was actually a basketball coach called Michael Snoddy. He's actually from Larne. Anyway,
well,
I worked at his summer camp a long time ago. He's in the northeast of the United States, and when I worked at his summer camp, he said to me the thing that he missed most about being home was the idea that the greater the insult, the greater the friend.
yeah, yeah, that's probably true. Yeah,
That's home, isn't it?
yeah,
So, CJ, in terms of the this third and final point, importance of self belief, I find it so in tension with the kind of two different things that I think you hold dear, which is the humility and the gratitude to be like, I'm grateful of being here. I'm happy that this is happening, and humility, but also I deserve to be here. I've worked hard, and I want this and the ambition. Like, is
yeah,
that how you see it in terms of finding that balance?
yeah. I think like when I went out to the summer league, it was almost probably too much. Glad glad to be here.
Just happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Obviously, when I got on the court and I'm trying to compete and I'm playing hard and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's after the summer league. I think that's motivated me even more now to get back to work and have that belief in myself and push on from here.
You think that's been a turning point for you now that you've done it and you had that opportunity to play, and I asked you earlier
Yeah,
and you were like, I'm not happy with how I played, or you like
yeah,
itching to get a chance to run it back?
yeah, definitely. I think even the fact that I'm thinking, coming out of an NBA summer league, being like could have done this, should have done this. I think that's always going to be how I am, but I think that's definitely motivated me even more to put in the work this kind of few weeks that I'm home and then get back to work.
Yeah, I love that for you, and I'm feeling inspired about your journey, CJ, and I'm so glad we spent this time. I have one more question for you, because I know you've got a lot on your plate as you get ready to help out in Rip and Run summer camp, where your dad runs down south in Dublin.
Get the promo out.
Get the promo. Shout out to Rip and Run, and I know you're going to be hopefully taking this to the next level, whatever that means. But
Yeah.
my final question for you, that I like to ask all our guests, is if we were all to adopt some of the lessons you've shared with us, some of the insights around being ready, how might the world change for the better?
I think if everyone's, ready and prepared for the moment, I think your performance or even just, your self-belief, which is more than half the battle, I think is going to set you up for success and you're in a better position to, whether it's in sports, going into a game or a business meeting or just life in general. Just having that mindset that, yeah, you're ready for whatever is thrown at you. And you can respond in the best way possible.
I think you're just an incredibly wise young man. And, when I asked you to spend time doing this, and I know you had another media request tonight, actually, that you passed up. And I'm very grateful that you remained loyal to our arrangement to have a catch up and, to share this. And I think
got a cup of tea out of it.
you got a cup of tea, and we played a bit of peg as well, but we'll not talk about that.
Yeah, keep that in the down low.
But, when I asked you about making time for this, I think one of the things you said to me was you felt like a level of responsibility for some of the, the basketball community, but particularly young players here on this island who now have someone to look up to. And I think that's so cool, CJ. And I think, the fact you've spent time talking to us and everything you're doing for yourself and for your own craft and the work that you're putting into your sport is amazing for you. And I'm so glad that it's having such a positive ripple effect over here.
Thank you. Yeah, no, like you said, kind of at first I was kind of, wasn't too sure about all the, not fame, but the increased interest and all the support. I just kind of want to get on with the games and working out and stuff. But like you said, come to realize and appreciate the position I'm in, and I'm privileged to be in the position I'm in. So just trying to pay it forward and help out, like the next generation of Irish basketballers coming through.
I love that. CJ, thanks so much for joining us on the 3 Points podcast.
Thanks for having me.